What's going on? This is Cosmic, and welcome back to another episode of Unstuck, what I like to call Escaping the Matrix. And today, once again, I have with me a very good friend, Marlon Francis. And we have a very exciting topic that we're going to be diving in a moment. And we will be talking about the mystery of marriage. You need to listen to this to the very end because we are going to drop some gems in this podcast that can literally make a difference in your marriage. So without much ado, I'd like to introduce my guest, Marlon Francis. Hey Marlon, how are you doing?
I'm good, Ernest. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing amazing, man. I'm so excited about this one, man. I can't wait for us to jump right in and get into the meat and potatoes of what we are about to get into today. So basically, when we talk about marriage, what do you think about that before we go even deeper?
Oh man, this one is a real doozy, yes. And I'm not a psychologist, but I'm a thinker. And when I think about marriage, I always, roll it back to the Genesis. I roll it back to the Genesis, and
Right.
in the Genesis, the Lord, I think He understands the nature of the human construct and how we behave in terms of the presence of a person in our lives for over a lengthy period of time. And now
Right.
we're about to move into a new frontier of marriage. So the Lord Himself says, a man must leave his mother's bosom and cleave to his wife. So there is a leaving and a cleaving. One of my mentors, Dr. Ratry, she plays on words. So when you think of a bosom, what do you think about, Ernest?
When I think of bosom, I'm thinking of closeness,
Comfort,
comfort.
mommy,
Right.
right? And you leave that comfort and closeness, and now you are going to a cleavage, to cleave, right? Now when you hear cleavage, what comes to mind?
Cleave means to become one.
Right. And then if you put the edge onto it, cleavage, what comes up to
Cleavage?
yeah, what comes to mind?
I don't know, man. Help me out.
Youth, excitement, new. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just like you just said.
Right.
The courting period, yes?
Yes.
Right. Now, with all that mix, if he successfully leaves his mom and he now cleaves to the woman that he loves and he proposes to and he gets married to, here's the thing that we don't talk about, but is not mentioned. All of the trauma, all of the dysfunction that he had from that bosom, he takes into his marriage.
Right.
And the same thing with her. She has to leave her father's arms.
Right.
And the protectiveness of his arms to
Right.
move into a new sense of protection with this man.
Gotcha.
And that, all her trauma and all their disappointments and all the things that she wants him to become, to overcome,
Right.
he has to be able to stand up to those challenges. And that's where I believe most time, after the courting and the excitement of the dating and the proposal and the wedding and the dancing and
Right.
and when you're standing face to face with this person to speak about the things that matters to you, it becomes a marriage.
Right. So, right now, the divorce rate in America is through the roof. And not just America, if you look at the rest of the world,
Yeah.
the divorce rate is ridiculous.
I know you're a guy who listens to a lot of the radio and like myself. One of the things that you hear on the radio so often is, especially the radio personalities,
Right.
they were being driven nuts by their partner being at home.
That's true. That's very true. And now more than ever, like, it's very difficult for couples to stay together in a marriage. And part of that reason is because of the influences of social media,
Right.
and also the role that money plays in a relationship.
Yes.
But I believe that the biggest reason why there is so much challenges in marriage nowadays is that there is no longer unconditional love being felt in marriages today. The kind of love that most people take into marriages today is a love that is based on expectations.
All right. Can I jump in? I believe what the expectation of what marriages should look like, 40 years ago,
Right.
it is not the same.
Yes.
The world before us is changing dramatically.
Absolutely.
Right? Women are working now,
Right.
and here's a pincher. They're even more educated than their men.
That is true.
Right? So they're highly thinking beings, right? They're no longer stuck to the confines of the kitchen
Right.
and the living room to keep it clean and the nurturing of the children 24/7.
Right.
She now needs, instead of him having a partner, she now is in partnership with her husband.
Right.
Who is adjusting here? Who is having the problem, the greater problem, doing the adjusting? Is it the male or is it the female?
That is a very good question. However, I believe it's irrelevant when love comes into play. When we talk about unconditional love, we are talking about loving somebody regardless of who they are, regardless of what they do, regardless of how you perceive them to be.
We're in the Western world, Ernest.
I understand that,
Yeah.
but the reason why I'm saying that is why marriages are not working out, because we take it as we are in the Western world, and whatever a man can do, a woman can also do, and we have forgotten about the foundation upon which a marriage is built, which is love.
Right.
If there is no love, there are homes that the man does the cooking in the house,
Right.
takes care of the children,
Right.
and the woman works, and there is so much love and togetherness in that home.
So, in other words,
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I think I understand
so
what you're
what I'm
saying.
trying
Yeah.
to say is this, right? When you make love, unconditional love,
Yeah.
the foundation of your marriage,
Right.
it means that whoever you are living with, no matter their attitude, you should be able to live with them in harmony and in peace. Because if you love somebody, if you truly care about somebody, when they are hurting, all you want to do is help them suffer less. You don't want to put more suffering and pain
Right.
on them. So
Right.
if you're in a relationship and your partner is telling you that they are hurting in certain areas about things that you are doing and
Right.
stuff like that,
Right.
instead of you to also start pointing out some of the things that they should be doing and some of the things that you are upset about,
Right.
because of your unconditional love for them, you have to listen to the grievances of your wife and try to find a way to make her suffer less. And by so doing, your wife will feel loved. And once they feel loved, you will also feel the contentment and joy that comes with living together with a happy home.
All right, hold on.
And I say this, I don't want to break away from
okay.
my thought process. The
Okay.
reason why I'm saying this is there has been a time like nobody gets educated enough or get counseling enough before they go into marriage.
Marriage,
No
right.
amount of counseling can prepare you for what is to come in a marriage.
Right.
When you get married, that is when you begin to find out the intricacies and the nuances of this wonderful institution.
Right, right.
Marriage can be a very beautiful thing
Right.
if you really understand, and if you really understand consciously the things that you are doing in that marriage. Because most people going into marriage, we already came into the marriage with a preconceived idea about how the marital home should
Right.
be.
And you quickly find out
Some
that
of
it's not,
us,
right?
came with the mentality that the man is the head of the house, which is true. But the way you interpret that in your household, depending on the challenges that you face in your household, will make a difference between whether you get divorced or you guys stay together. What do you think about that?
All right. So, you made some good points, but I believe that the dynamics of the way we should look, the way we look at marriage it's changing.
Right.
It's changing. When I was listening to you, I heard communication issues. There's an issue of communication. There is also a issue of clarity in terms of who are we and what do we want to become, right? That's a conversation to have also. How are we going to present ourselves to the world?
Mm-hmm.
And how hard are we going to work on us as a couple?
Right.
Do we have a meeting space?
Right.
Because after all of the world has pushed us and pulled us and has it demanded on us, do we have a meeting space where we have full energy
Right.
to be able to see clearly, hear clearly, think clearly, and understand clearly?
So the Bible talks about men loving their wives,
Yes.
and also talks about women being submissive to their husbands.
Man,
Have you ever asked yourself why the Bible did not ask wives to also love their husbands? Because if you read a little bit further down, the Bible explained that because women are the weaker vessels.
let's explain that.
And the Bible went further to say that he who loves his wife loves himself.
Right.
Do you understand?
Right.
So meaning that, first of all, you can't give something you don't have.
This is true.
You can't love somebody else if you don't love yourself.
Right.
So my understanding of this scripture is that as the man of the household, regardless of what is going on, you have to approach your wife from a place of love.
You're right.
I've heard a couple of my friends say that if my wife is submissive to me, then I would love my wife.
And
If
it
they are not
doesn't-
submissive,
Right.
I won't be able to love them because I cannot love somebody who doesn't listen to me. But I've practiced this myself in my own marriage.
Right. Right.
And I realized that the more you practice unconditional love in your marriage, regardless of what your wife has done,
Right.
regardless of the expectations that you are putting on your wife, in terms of how you need them to be, how you want them to dress, whatever you want them to do, regardless of all that expectation, whatever they are telling you in terms of your conversations, if you are able to listen and approach the situation with compassion and love,
Right.
100% of the time you will see a different reaction from your wife.
Right.
And most of the time, the more your wife feels love from you,
Yes.
the more submissive they become. The more your wife feels not loved, not cared for
Right.
from you, the more anger and disagreements you will have in your marriage.
And misunderstanding you
And
believe there was
misunderstandings
any-
you will have in your marriage. Because women are emotional beings. Men are very logical beings.
Right.
And most of the time, some of the things that our wives will do is not logical to us because we are not wired that way to understand
I
what they
understand.
what they are feeling.
Right.
It is a good combination that God made.
Right.
One of the things that I find very frustrating is that most of the spiritual people that walk this planet never got married. That is one frustrating thing to me, in the sense that
You're looking for an example?
at least we could have learned something from their experience
Right.
with their wives, because there is something about being married
Right.
that it takes you have to give your whole self to
By the
this.
way, I must commend it. That's a wonderful observation on your part.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
You must give up your whole self to this person that you are married to.
Right.
So if you look at the spiritual men and women that walk this planet, none of them was involved in any kind of intimacy with a woman or
Right.
in a marital setting.
Setting, right.
And I believe that the reason is that they gave themselves to the purpose for which they came to this earth.
This is mostly the New Testament guys you're talking about.
Right, I'm talking about Jesus Christ, I'm talking
Yeah.
about Paul,
Paul,
I'm talking
Timothy.
about Peter, Timothy, all those wonderful guys.
Right.
Because it's you cannot divide yourself and give your wife 10% of yourself
Right.
and give your career 90%.
Right.
Even if you are giving 90% to your career, your wife wants to feel that 90%. Otherwise, there's going to be some sort of a conflict
Right.
in your marriage.
So, well, if that man is bringing in the bread, I tell you that compromise.
Most women don't care about the bread.
Hold on. That compromise sometimes comes across a lot easier because she has the ability to do what she wants financially.
Right.
You understand me? However, because we're not built physically alone, we need the human connection with each other. And that's where the failure will come in, because either she will seek out the another spirit that's likeness in how she's feeling. She will express herself to that person, and that person will in turn express themselves to her. And this husband who think his wife she's the greatest person, she's loyal, she understands, but he failed her also.
Right.
He failed her, but by not understanding what her needs are. I mean, the other day, you and I, we sat down. I think it was Ephesians 4. We sat down, we read it together, and the responsibility of the male in the home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the first things that you remember we read, he has to be a minister to his wife.
Right.
He has to be a counselor.
Yes.
I think that was 2. The third thing, he has to be a nurturer of her spirit. And I think there was a 4th job that he had. And if he accomplished those 4 things, the 4th thing, more than likely, and it had nothing to do with his job. It had nothing to do with his the wealth that he has,
Right.
the roof, the quality of the roof that he puts over her head. It's his presence. All of those words that we deduce what the meaning of what was said to us,
Right.
it's its presence that means something,
Right.
that is more valuable than anything that he could possibly, diamond that he could put on our hand, the myrrhs and scents that he could have given her. Today is what? It's the perfect trip to whatever place we could take our wives to, or the nicest diamond that we could possibly afford. None of those things matters. So the scripture tells us that we have a responsibility to be present, and our presence, the presence not only should be that we should be there. Sometimes we don't even have to say anything, but our actions should be such that there's a clear understanding of, I value you, and I feel the value that you bring to me.
Right.
When we look at today's modern world, marriages are going down tremendously. The church that I go to, I remember when we just started going there.
Right.
I think my pastor, he had so many weddings on the weekends. He had to say, "Listen, man, we can pick this up next year," because he had a lot of weddings. I tell you right now, he's probably looking out the window to see if anybody's coming to get married. The culture is changing.
Right.
And you're right. I think the internet, I don't want to say social media, but I think the accessibility of what the internet brings is changing the mindset of people of where they can get their pleasures or their comfort zone, what makes them more comfortable. Comfort seems to becoming more of an easy to do than to be discomfortable in engaging in a conversation of truth about who I am, how I see the future, what I want to do,
Right.
and would you share that with me?
Right.
That conversation is becoming extremely difficult, I believe. I'm hoping that our clergy will take up a new direction in the responsibility in talking to young people about how to meet each other.
I don't think it's about talking to young people about how to meet each other.
You don't think so, Ernest?
I think what the world is lacking
No,
right
Ernest,
now, what the world is lacking right now is not more of philosophy.
No,
The
Ernest.
world needs unconditional love.
No. Okay.
That is
How
the
do-
only thing that is able to
Ernest.
transform any given situation.
Yes.
Because human beings are not perfect. And for the fact that human beings are not perfect, if you are not showing unconditional love in whatever type of relationship that you are into, whether it's a marital relationship, whether it's just you having a friend, if you are not showing unconditional love in any type of relationship that you are into, that relationship is bound to collapse.
That sounds like the ideal thing, Ernest. However,
That is how it should be.
Ernest, how it is and how it, there's a distinction
Right.
between how it is and how we'd like it to be.
Right.
Because most children that are growing up in this world, most children that grow up in this world, are not experiencing unconditional love. So,
Right. So we have to start teaching them what unconditional love is, because they don't even know what unconditional love looks like.
This is my point.
Do you understand? So we shouldn't shy away from the education.
So this is why I was saying earlier that our clergy and our leaders,
Right.
You brought up an excellent point about all of the apostles that we read in the scriptures.
Right.
None or most of them were never married,
Right.
And you're saying, man, I'm looking for an example,
Right.
an unconditional example,
Right.
that will guide me in my marriage, so that I can be the best person in that space with the person that I profess the rest of my life to.
Right.
Where are the examples?
So that is what we need to cultivate.
And that's
You
a great
understand?
point.
That's where the conversation
The
needs to
starting
start.
point. The starting point is and so which leads to a really good point that I want to make.
Right.
So I've been doing a mirror check of myself, and one of my favorite words is clarity.
Okay.
And there are times when I believe I'm feeling miserable at being clear when I speak to my wife, my children. I'm misunderstood. And then I have to reteach myself in how to formulate my language
Right.
to get myself across clearly. Or I'm even thinking in small doses,
Right.
right? Maybe I'm talking too much. Maybe I like to hear myself too much.
Right.
So I need to probably cultivate a space that whenever I'm speaking with them, not to them, but with them about the present and the future, that what the words that I'm saying is coming across very clear to them. So I did a bit of a research on how can I reach and how can I improve myself in my communication. And while doing the research, I came across this gentleman he was doing a TED Talks on communication. And I watched a few of them, but this one really stood out to me. And he mentioned to his audience, and he says, I want to teach you about the word hail. And he says, no, not hailing like hailing a cab or the hail that falls from the sky, but an acronym. HAIL. 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 And the H is for humility. He says, whenever you are communicating, you must prepare yourself to be humble in the presentation of your words.
Right.
Because you want to be as warm and as thoughtful with your words, so that when you formulate them, that the person that is listening to you is engaging in what you're saying. Right? And the second word is authenticity. Authenticity comes from being able to speak your truth. And speaking your truth is a very difficult thing to do.
Right.
And when you're speaking the truth, it cannot be from a place where you. It has to be, the problem is really with me.
Yes.
It starts with me. And this is what I see that I'm doing wrong, and I notice how it affects you. Am I right? Am I on the right track with what? Do you believe what I'm saying? And when the person's able to say, yes, that's how I feel also, then you can see, then you're kind of getting in the space of understanding that, all right, now the communication is getting to another level.
Right.
The I is for integrity. In every marriage, the goal is for the couple to become one, an integer. If we are not communicating, or we are working on the synchronization of our minds together, to work out the issues in our lives when they come up, to plan in how we're going to raise our children, how to multiply our earnings and our income
Right.
in living smaller, or how we present our world, present ourselves to the world based upon our the financial wealth that we have accumulated. Or do we want to be frugal, or do we want to be bashful and boastful with it? You understand me? It's your presentation.
Right.
And then the last thing is love. If you love someone, if we love the people that we claim that we do, then we don't hurt them.
Right.
We don't bring any form of hurt to them. And I've been working on that. I'm not there yet.
One of the things that I've learned personally that is working in my marriage is giving up the need to be right.
That's a good thing, bro.
You know, a wise man once said, when you have the option to be kind or to be right,
Yes.
always be kind.
I love that.
And for those of you listening to us right now, if you happen to be struggling in your marriage and you are at a point that you feel like you want to throw in the towel, I want you to know and understand that there is still hope. Hope in the sense that this is the time that you have an opportunity for you to work on yourself.
Yes.
Not to work on your wife, to work on yourself.
Right.
The problem is not with your wife. The problem is with you.
And
If
wife,
you are a
same
woman,
thing for the wife, yes.
if you're a woman listening to me right now and you are tired of your marriage and you feel like throwing in your towel, I want you to understand that the problem is not your husband. The problem is you. This is an opportunity for you to work on yourself. The question becomes, how do you work on yourself? You have to ask yourself, am I loving my partner unconditionally? If you are loving your partner unconditionally, there are a few things that you can, or a few signs that you can see to know and determine that you are actually loving your partner unconditionally. One of them is you taking away all expectations. Because if you don't have any expectation on your partner, then you won't be disappointed. If you don't have any expectation on your partner, then the little that they do, you are able to appreciate them for the little that they do instead of always complaining and nagging about what you think they should be doing. Unconditional love means loving someone just the way they are, not trying to change them. And most of the time, if you can love someone enough, unconditionally enough, the changes that you desire in that person, you will begin to see the changes. It happens like a miracle. It happened for me, and I believe it can happen for you. So I hope you guys take something out of this discussion. And until next time, if you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you are watching on Facebook, don't forget to like our page. And if you have never shared our video, this is an opportunity for you to share this video. This video might not be meant for you, but you might be able to share it. That might help somebody who is just about to give up on their marriage. So until next time, don't be a follower, be a student.
Yes.
My name is Unstuck. Thank you for watching.